Welcome to LOA Today. Walt and Anne-Marie McEwen here. Today is Sunday, January the 6th, 2018. It's 8 p.m. in New York. Los Angeles, it's 5 p.m. It's after midnight, 1 o'clock in London. And if you're in Sydney, Australia, that's going to put you at around 12 noon. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in. If you're listening to the live stream or listening to the recording, either way, of LOA Today, we're glad to have you here. We're actually starting a little bit later than expected. We ran into technical issues, which doesn't happen too often, Anne-Marie, fortunately, but the gremlins kind of were getting in the works today, but we got it going so we can have our show and have some fun and share some news and see what's going on. So how you doing? You having a good weekend?
Yeah, I'm having a great weekend. I had a great holiday. I had a great New Year's. Everything is good. I cannot complain. I am blessed and happy, and healthy. So that's great. And yes, it's all
See,
good. It's all good.
that-
How about
that's
you?
that's the way to start a new year. Everything working great.
Hmm.
I love that. That's good.
Yes,
It's
yes.
actually been an interesting past few days. Um, we got some news. Excuse me. Nasha and Deidre are two of our regulars, and Nasha came to, I believe it was our Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon program. I can't remember which one, Wednesday or Thursday, and informed us that Deidre was in the hospital and not doing well and facing a possible emergency operation. And so she asked for our help. That's right, it was Wednesday because it was with Cindy Chavez, and she asked for some help to help Deidre to attract not having to have the operation, getting healthy. So we were talking about Neville Goddard, and it fit in perfectly with what we were talking about. So Cindy kind of organized an impromptu group healing, group positive energy send to Deidre. And we all envisioned her being at the podcast on Friday in good spirits and good health and so forth, and chatting away with us during the podcast and all that good stuff. And heard from Nasha later. I think it was late Friday. We heard that everything had worked out beautifully. Deidre was, I think she's out of the hospital. The emergency surgery was not necessary, and she's doing so much better. And Nasha's comment was, just like Carlos said on Friday, this stuff really does work. And so that was great news that we got. And just wanted to
Terrific.
say hello to Deidre and to Nasha, and wish you continued speedy recovery. And we're looking forward to having you join us again and share your commentary and so forth because we love you. You're among our most loyal and regular listeners. So we're really, really glad for you. And also, I've had an interesting experience the last couple of days, Anne Marie. And others who do the podcast with me know that I have been wishing for some time to get the podcast out to more and more people. I mean, we do our promos, we ask people to subscribe and then share the fact that they're listening to the episodes and so forth. And it's been kind of holding steady, little bits of growth here or there, but nothing really great. And kind of the holidays actually slowed things down just because we did fewer episodes. But obviously now we're back on track now that the new year is passed, or the beginning of the new year is passed. And 2 or 3 days ago, I started getting a very unexpected result that I'm pretty sure is tied to that request for broader exposure. I have been literally inundated, overwhelmed with contacts from people asking me to friend them. Now, typically in any given week, I'll get, one or two, maybe three friend requests, something like that. In the last 48 hours, I've had nearly 500 friend requests. And
500.
500, let me tell you,
Wow.
rather shocking.
Wow. Now that's for LOAtoday.net, or is that
Well,
you
that's
personally?
personally to me. That's personally to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
Wow.
can't draw a direct line, but I couldn't think, why would I get 500 friend requests? I mean,
Right.
I don't even reach out to friend most people. Most of the time I just keep quiet. I don't really post much of anything on my timeline. The only thing I ever post on is on the LOA Today page or in the Law of Attraction Change My Life group, or maybe some of the other LOA groups, but that's about it. And I mean, I've just been blown away by it. So I'm kind of
Wow.
assuming that it's probably tied in some way to getting more listeners for the podcast. So whenever somebody's been friending me, I've been trying to share with them that we do the podcast and invite them to like the page and so forth. I don't know what it all means, but when you see a result like that, you say there's something going on here. The universe is doing something. Source energy's
Right,
got something going on here, and
right.
we'll probably have to wait to see what it is. But wow, 4 to 548 hours. My goodness, that's just insane.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot. That's a
I've
lot.
never seen that before. In fact, there were so many, and a lot of them were asking for instant messenger chats. I had like 20, 30, 40, 50 people at a time asking me for a chat. I mean, you can't do that. There's no way to do that.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
so
Wow.
I made like this video to explain, hey, I'm getting too many requests here, so I can't do instant messenger chats with all you guys. And I've been posting the video to everybody who asked for it. Just otherwise, I can't get through the day. I currently still have about 250 unresponded friend requests. I just haven't been able to get to yet. That's the way my
Oh
weekend's been
goodness.
going.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. So,
Wow.
I mean, we'll have to see what happens, but this has just been
Well, good
remarkable.
luck with that.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of it. I mean, it's strange. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
and they're from all over the world. I mean, they're not just from say the US or whatever.
Yeah,
They're from countries everywhere.
yeah.
So,
Wow.
I don't know. I know
It,
that a large number of them are Christians, so maybe they've somehow been drawn into some sort of a Christian circle or something like that. I don't know, but wow.
and you
Just
couldn't
really
tell
something.
you couldn't detect any similarity between them at all? Like there were no
That was the
common
only
bonds?
that was the only thing. I got probably a half dozen who identified as pastors or bishops or ministers or that kind of thing. So that's one of the reasons and plus people were blessing me in the name of Jesus and things like that. So I figured, okay, I've tapped into something that's Christian related. But it's not like I did anything deliberately because I don't go out of my way to friend anybody. I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually issued a friend request. So these are all
Wow.
people finding me.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if it had anything to do with the podcast where you were doing group healings and
Really?
people were thinking that you're a healer of some sort or involved in that. So maybe that's what that's about. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, I've got news for them. We're all healers.
We
It's
are.
not just me.
Yes,
We all
that's
do
true.
it. We are all capable of doing it.
Yeah,
That's what's so
that's true.
cool. Yeah. Wow.
That's true.
So,
So to Deirdre, I wanted to say I wanted to give her our laughter yoga congratulations,
yeah.
which is very good, very good. Yay! So
Yay. Very good.
yay,
Very good.
Deirdre,
Yay.
for getting better and not needing
Oh,
the emergency surgery and all that. So that's a great
that's
way
got
to
to be
start us off.
It's got to be such a relief too. I mean, because
Sure.
well, I know what it's like with what Louise has been going through, and fortunately she didn't have to go through any surgery either. But when you're dealing with a medical issue, it can be pretty frightening, especially if you're hospitalized.
Yeah.
So her relief must be really really high, and so I
Right.
celebrate that with you. Very
Right.
good, very good. Yay, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And how is Louise feeling? Good? Better?
She's doing better and better. Yeah. I mean, it's she was really in rough shape, so this is not going to be a quick cure, I don't
Right.
think. But she makes progress every single day. Today we actually went to the movies, which was first time we've done that in a few months.
That's
So
great.
that was
What'd you see?
nice. We saw Mary Poppins Returns actually.
Oh, nice. I want to go
Kind of
see that
fun.
with my granddaughter. How'd you
Yeah,
like it?
it was good. It was cute. I mean, it's Mary Poppins, so it's really light fare. And I've heard people say there's some people who said they didn't really like it too much. They were disappointed by it because they were comparing it to the original, which is always dangerous. You have
Yeah,
to, a
right.
film like this, you always have to watch it on its own. You can't compare. And of course, they have so many similarities that you can't help but compare. So that's
Yeah.
probably part of it. And it also occurred to me probably most of the people who saw it were 6 years old when they first saw Mary Poppins. So they're trying to basically compare this to a situation where they were originally watching a film when they were 6 and now they're 30, 40, 50, 60. It's a different perspective. It's not really the same feeling at all. So you have to kind of look at
Right.
it through a kid's eyes. Otherwise, you get disappointed. But I thought they did a good job. I thought it was very, very entertaining. And
Nice. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, it's light. It's very, very light entertainment. A lot of it's the same kinds of adventures that you have in the first film, um, updated. There's a Dick Van Dyke type character, and in fact, Dick Van Dyke actually makes a cameo appearance at the end, which is
Oh,
fun.
Oh, cool.
And, and Meryl Streep plays a character who's just fabulous. Just really,
Oh,
yeah, one of the fun Mary Poppins visit scenes, you know, where
oh,
they go off
nice.
and
I
do
didn't
something
even
magical.
realize she was in it.
Yep, she's in
Nice.
it, and Angela Lansbury makes an appearance toward the end as well, and sings. That's the first time I've heard Angela Lansbury sing in a long time. So yeah, that was
Wow.
good. It was fun.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. My granddaughter and I are spending a lot of time together now, so
Hmm.
I guess that comes because I wanted to spend more time with her. So here it is. Every
There
day
you
now,
go.
2 o'clock, I pick her up from the bus
There you go.
and wanted my
Great.
daughter to get a job, so she got a job. So, uh,
Okay.
so that's going really nicely. That's going well.
By the way, Colleen posted the podcast a few days ago. You talked about the podcast growing. Yes, I did. I've been talking about it a lot, but thank you for pointing out that yes, I also did just a couple days ago. You're absolutely right. And it appears to be producing some kind of fruit. I'm not quite sure what to make of it because friend request isn't the same thing as watching a podcast, but it's a step, I guess. So, you know, maybe it's the next step and it brings people in as listeners. I don't know. We shall just wait and see. There's nothing
We'll
else to
wait
do.
and see. That's right. We'll
Just
find
see
out.
what
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
I'm learning more and more these days the importance of just doing the journey, not trying to anticipate, not trying to figure out how, not trying to figure out, you know, what I got to do to make something happen, and kind of expecting there's going to be some surprises along the way. Well, I got a big surprise. I don't know what to make of it, but I got a big surprise, and so I figure this is just one more step on that journey. If I can stay in that mindset and stay in it positively, got to be good things happening. I just don't know what they're going to be. That's all.
That's right. Well, when you expect the good, that's what you'll find.
That's
So
right. Which,
just
by the
never
way,
know when
that was
sometimes.
also the topic of the movie, Mary Poppins Returns. I mean, it was very much of a positive attitude movie, and in fact, you have the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys, everything's going to work out. You know, magical things happen, all that kind of thing. That's the basic idea. And the bad guys, you know, oh no, no, terrible things are going to happen, and we're going to be snidely whiplash, and we're going to do all these terrible things. You know, it's very black and white in that sense. But it's also a good reminder that you know we get our choice. We can choose which side we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the side that's good. We're going to focus on the side that feels good. It's positive. It's up to us.
Right, right. And that's the whole thing is your perspective on everything is your perspective. It's like
Hmm.
I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning and he was talking about and he was quoting somebody else even, I don't remember who. And it was, how do you see the world? Do you see the world as dark and ominous and evil, or do you see the world as getting better and people growing more and more in harmony? And how do you see it? I mean, it's a sort of a basic question, but it will telltale which way you're pointed. So,
It does, and it's something that I am very drawn to in terms of the topic or the question, so to speak, of positive versus negative. In part because I notice I get lots of opportunities in my life to focus on the negative, and I think most people do. And in the process of being faced with those opportunities, it's almost like a day-to-day challenge. Okay, here's one more negative. Are you going to focus on this negative? Here's one more. Are you going to focus on this one? How about this one? How about this one over here? Then we have this one here. And every single time it's which way you're going to focus, which way you're going to focus. I'm actually hoping I get to the point where I get more positives than negatives. That hasn't happened yet. So far, it's like one negative after another. Like, no, thank you, 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 no, thank you. At some
wow,
point, that's
yeah,
got to change, you know?
yeah, yeah. I'm sure as the more you start looking for positive things, or even finding the positive things within the negative things,
Yeah, sometimes you can do that. Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah,
Or
you can.
or find a way to look at it differently from the way that your initial perspective shows you, which is
Right,
a challenge.
right,
That's not
right.
easy.
But there's always, when I believe anyway, whenever there's something that happens that you initially think is negative, and in many ways it is negative, if you look for the positive, you'll
Hmm.
ultimately find it. Now,
Hmm.
sometimes it may take years for you to actually find that positive or see the positive thing that came out of that negative circumstance. But
Hmm.
usually it comes out pretty soon. Usually you can find it if you look for it. But most people don't bother looking for it. They just keep complaining about what it is that happened that was so terrible. And of
Mhm.
course, doing that will get you nowhere fast.
Or get you where you want to go, where you don't want to go fast. Let's put it that way. It'll take you to places that you want to stay away
Yeah,
from as much as possible. But yeah,
right,
and
right.
it'll bring them quickly too. It's scary how quickly they come.
Well, time is a funny thing. That's one of the things I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about tonight was time because,
Oh, okay.
you know, even in listening to Wayne Dyer talking about different philosophies and principles you should have in your life, it talked about don't die with your music still in you, and it's like, what do you
Mm,
have a passion for? What makes you sing,
right.
And the more I thought about that, the more I thought, well, I think in due time, I'll be able to uh, really see that in a bigger way. Right now, I feel like I'm doing it, but in a in sort of a smallish way. And
What
I
do you
hope
mean?
that it will grow. It's kind of like your podcast. You're doing it now. It's just starting off. It's small, but you want it to grow.
Okay.
And I feel like, in due time, things will grow for us and things will manifest in a big way and we can be able to really witness it. And right now, sometimes, or whenever we're starting off on a new journey, even those first steps are small and you don't always see the fruits of your labor. You got to kind of put some time in before you actually see the results.
Hmm.
And it's important not to give up in those times. It's important
That's true.
not to worry about the eventual outcome, but to have faith that you're going in the right direction. And as long as you keep
Right.
moving, that's my
Right.
message for today. As I went on my jog today, was like, you've got to keep moving. No matter what, just keep moving.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's true. That's true. And in fact, whenever we talk about stuff that's regarding negative meaning things that we don't want, we choose X, but we don't choose Y, and all the Y's we want to keep the Y's away. So as I think about those, I realize that any time that I'm trying to understand why there's a time delay, you mentioned time, and why I'm not getting what I want, and why there seems to be more negatives than positives than I would like. Um, I realize that there are always just two factors that are causing the delays, the stuff showing up that I don't want, and so on and so forth. First factor, well, perhaps I should say three factors. First factor, I guess, would be focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on what you don't want rather than what you want.
yeah,
Second factor would be focusing on what you want or seemingly focusing on what you want. But as it turns out, you're actually focusing on the lack of what you want. And that's usually the way we start our requests. We don't usually request things that we already have. We try to assume the feeling of what we
sure,
are of already having it, but we don't
right,
usually already have it. So in a sense, at the moment we make the request, we're in a position of lack. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ourselves into that feeling of having rather than the feeling of lack.
yes,
So the feeling of lack might be described as the second cause of something not showing up that we want to have to show up. And then the third thing would be any other kind of resistance that we put up that makes us doubt or in some way focus on the opposite or focus on or cease our focus on feeling good most of the time, because that you have to be in that good feeling place. That's why we do your daily dose of happy, because we want to encourage everybody to be in that happy place. So not being in a happy place is where we tend to be focusing on the wrong stuff, and in the process of focusing on the wrong stuff, we get the wrong stuff. So it becomes like this. Well, it's the negative vortex. That's what we call it, right?
yeah,
So,
vicious circle, yeah,
and really, three and one are really the same. Two ways of saying the same thing. So it's focusing on lack and focusing on the wrong stuff. Those are the two ways I would describe it. So whenever we have a time delay, we know that the law of attraction and source energy likes to deliver using the law of attraction or in response to the law of attraction. It likes to deliver very quickly, if it can. So the only
If it
reason it's not
can,
going to
and that's where I notice there are some things that take time to pull all of the elements together. And sometimes the universe, in order for it to deliver what you want, has to pull things in that maybe need time to set up. They need time to sort of gel before you can actually get them to connect with other things, because everything is so interconnected that
hmm
sometimes the things that you want need time for all the little things to come together and for all the things to set up to actually happen. So I think sometimes the universe just takes time sometimes to deliver things. I know Abraham says, oh, you can have things immediately, but um, I think it depends on what it is.
Well, I would say with those things that require time to set up, I understand what you're saying, and certainly I thought about the same thing myself. I think with that situation, we could describe that as a series of resistances that are in the way. So, 15 things have to happen in order for X to show up in your life, and those 15 things each have a resistance point that has to be worked through before it's kind of like the water, the stream flowing through stuff, having to work its way down to the bottom. So you have resistance points every step of the way. And when I look at it that way, I realize that yes, all those resistance points can be tied to my thinking, and probably are because there are so many different ways to resist that we don't even have to think hard about it. I mean, we know, for instance, from quantum physics, from just general source energy theory, that even though this pen seems to be firm and hard and solid and it's always a pen, in fact, it's mostly empty space. In fact, if you can
Yeah.
actually see the molecules, if you can actually see the atoms and electrons, they take up very, very little of that overall space, which is bizarre. But nevertheless, that is the case. And yet, to me and to you and to all the people looking, that is a solid pen. Well, that fact that we believe it's a solid pen is a resistance point. It's a resistance point that prevents us from believing that that pen can turn into a mouse. I mean, we see that as a pen. We believe that's a pen, and that's a pretty strong resistance point. So how long would it take us to let go of that to turn it into a mouse? Probably quite some time because we have a lot of resistance about that. So
Yeah.
if you look at all the different things that can happen in order to try to manifest a certain thing, if we got resistance points all along there, yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, and it's not
Well,
because
I
the
think
universe is
what
slow; it's
I'm
because we're slow. We have to let go of all this stuff.
Well, I think what I'm referring to more is not so much our resistance about things, because there certainly is a lot of that, and I agree with you that there's a lot of resistant points that we don't even think about that we're
Oh yeah.
that basically reflecting our own prevention of the universe allowing it to come into our existence. But I also think that, and I'll give you a good example. Um, so at the Buttonwood Tree, I was hoping for a Steinway piano. The piano we had was terrible, and you know this story, right?
hmm
But and I did not offer, honestly, uh, in all honesty, I really didn't offer a lot of thought about it one way or the other. When I did think about it, it was in a very positive way. Like, yeah, I'm hoping it'll come, and I never put a timeline on it, and hoping it would come. Well, so 3 years later, the piano shows up. Well, there's not a lot of people out there who are going to donate a baby grand Steinway piano to a nonprofit art organization in Middletown, Connecticut. There's just not a lot of people knocking on my door, calling me up to say, "Hey, I want to give you a Steinway." So the universe had to wait for that man to move. And as it happened, as the universe arranged it all, it happened at just the right time when I was putting down a new floor and had to move my piano out. So I don't think it was me blocking it or resisting that that from happening. I think it was just the universe needed the time in order, the piano wasn't ready to come yet. The channels were all open, but it wasn't time for the piano to come yet because the guy who was going to donate the piano didn't move yet. So when he was ready to move, then it happened because that's when that element, that part of it was ready. And so I think that that's I see that that has happened in many times in my life where things take a while to manifest because of all the pieces out in the universe that involve other people or other programs or other institutions or something. And so that gives me a lot of, I guess, I guess a little bit more hope, but I have a lot of hope anyway. But it gives me the allowance to be more patient and say, okay, maybe it's not me that's resisting right now. Maybe it's just the universe needs time. And it sort of takes me off the hook from being the sole blocker of this thing to manifest in my life, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And it encourages me to be more positive. It
Hmm.
encourages me to not look at the fact that I don't have it yet, but to be hopeful and excited because it's on its way. And I feel like it's on its way, whatever it is, it's on its way and it's going to get here at just the right time when I'm ready and it's ready and it's going to be great. And so that's really exciting to me. And that really is helpful for me to remember that piece that it's not just always me that's blocking it. It's the universe sometimes needs time to set it up in its own divine time.
Okay, I see that. In fact, I've often felt the same thing myself about various kinds of things that I was waiting for in my life. But
Yeah.
I also have to recognize something else. And you said it right at the beginning there. Because, I mean, what you said made total sense to me. I mean, I would probably have come to the same conclusion. But what you said was there can't be that many people out there to donate a piano. That is a point of resistance. I mean, we don't like to think
Well,
of it, but it is. It's a point of resistance. Which our belief is just there aren't that many people out there willing to donate, so therefore there won't be.
Well, but
I'm
I
just
thought to
saying.
myself, but I didn't really think to myself, oh, there aren't a lot of people out there who want to donate a piano. My thought was, there is somebody out there who
Hmm.
will want to donate a piano.
Hmm.
I had to have that hope, and I had that hope, and I had that persistent belief that there was somebody out there who would
Hmm.
donate a piano. Was I
Hmm.
thinking to myself, oh, there are thousands of people out there who will donate a piano to me?
No.
No, but I was absolutely sure that there was somebody out there who would donate a piano. So I see what you mean about resisting because there wasn't a lot of people, but I I had the belief that there was somebody out there.
And
So
I don't think we hit those resistance points intentionally at all. I mean, that's one of those points that just kind of slips in there. And I think there are a lot of those. There are a lot more perhaps than we even recognize. Um, for instance, you mentioned that you were very hopeful that someone would donate the piano, and that's a good position to take. It also has a small degree of resistance with it because hope isn't at the very top of the scale. It's near the top, but it's got a little bit of resistance in there. Well, so there's another resistance point. Is that all by itself a resistance point that will stop a piano from showing up for 3 years? I can't say that. I'm going to guess that it probably wouldn't. But my point is, there's yet another resistance point. These resistance points, they work their way into our understanding in so many ways that we don't even notice them most of the time. We don't even pay attention to them. We can hardly discern them. So I think that's why, in my experience, I probably other people's experience, I find that as I go through life and I'm wondering where stuff is and so forth, and then I find another resistance point, and I find another one, and then I find another one, and then I find another one, I say to myself, my God, how many resistance points am I going to run into here? And I get the sense of there's a lot of them out there, or actually there's a lot of them in here. A lot of them that, I mean, I just kind of take for granted because I always have, and that's what we do as human beings. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just part of being human. But ultimately, I have to admit to myself, yeah, I'm the one who's blocking. I'm not doing it deliberately. I certainly wouldn't want to do it deliberately. I want that piano to show up. I really, really want it. You know, do I intend to put those resistance points up? Absolutely no. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. Half the time, I'm 3/4 of the time, I don't even realize I'm putting them up there. But I do. And I've learned that by recognizing that, I am able to move them out of the way quicker because now I'm not waiting for some sort of a fate to happen. I'm not waiting for some sort of, oh, I have to be patient for some X amount of time. Um, Abraham talks about how they're not really fans of patience. And
Right,
I,
right.
I see why. I mean, it does make sense. There's really no need to be patient except for the fact that we are self-limiting. And, that's just part of where we are in our development. That's all there is to it. That's as far as we've gotten. Do I want to get further? Yes. Am I trying to learn to get further? Yes. Am I getting better at it? Yes. Have I gotten there? Well, as Abraham says, you never get it wrong, and you'll never get it done. It's just
That's right. I listen to that statement a lot in my head. We'll never get it done. So just keep on moving and keep on going where you want to go and don't worry.
yeah. I don't think it's so much that the universe has to take its time to get here, or that it needs to happen in its own way. I think it's that we need it to happen in our own way. I think the general example they give in The Secret, for instance, is if you think about an elephant, all of a sudden an elephant showing up in your living room would be really, really inconvenient. So that's why you need to have that time delay in there. And that kind of touches on it. But I think what it really amounts to is if we had everything showing up immediately, would our human brains be able to handle it? Would they be able to handle what was going on? And I don't know. Maybe they could, but maybe they couldn't. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's where some of the resistance comes in. I mean, we do know that um, since emotion is a big portion of the overall puzzle. In other words, if we feel good, really, really good about the thing that we're asking for, we're speeding it up, we're accelerating it, we're making it more and more likely it's going to manifest, turn into something physical for us.
Uh-huh.
Because of that fact, certainly it becomes really incumbent upon us to be as happy as we can be, to feel as good as we can feel. But nevertheless, we're still on this journey, and on this journey, we're learning things, we're developing, we're getting stronger, we're developing our skills, we're practicing, and
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what makes sense to me.
yeah. Well, we certainly are all practicing and learning and well, some of us are learning, some of us are not learning, some of us are just trekking through life and not aware of what's going on, but I think others
Yeah.
are more aware and I think that that's really good. Um,
By the way,
and I
Bronwyn wants you to know she agrees with you. She says, I sure believe in being patient, and it shows up in perfect timing. So she agrees with you.
great. I
And
wanted to
Sreda said hi from Oklahoma. I want to say hello to Sreda because I don't remember seeing her name before. In January, hi, we haven't seen you in a while. Happy New Year to you too. So yes, just want to say hello to a few people.
nice, nice. I take it no questions yet.
No, everybody seems to know all the answers, so I think we're okay on that front. Maybe we should have them on the show. They could explain it all to us, right?
Yeah.
No,
But
seriously, if you do have any questions you want us to discuss, feel free. And if you're listening to the live stream, type something into the comments section. We'll be glad to talk about it because we love talking about topics brought up by our listeners.
yes, yes. I would love to spend a few minutes just talking about how I think um, it's such a great time in our human evolution, and I feel that more and more people are coming together in unity and aware of our power within,
Mm.
and aware that we need to come together, and aware that we're not separate from one another. And I think that's one of the big misconceptions of life is that we're all separated. We're all separate from each other. We're all separate from God, and we're all separate from whatever, and we're not, we're all connected. And I think that more and more people are getting that, and more peace gatherings are happening. And we just had a peace gathering on the 31st, which
Oh
was
yeah, how did that go? I forgot to
really
ask you
nice.
about that.
Yeah, it was really nice. The weather was relatively calm and it was relatively warm. It was in the mid 40s, and um, it was a beautiful event. Hannah and Bliss came to do the singing and the leading of us in song. So we sang songs together, and they did a ceremony with fire where we burned our burdens, and we also burned our hopes for the future, and we
Describe
had
how
some.
that works too for people who have never seen that kind of a process or never heard about that process.
Well, how we did it was we had a table set up where people could write down their burdens, things that they wanted to let go of from the past, whether it be a regret or a problem with someone, or they needed to forgive, or they needed to give up guilt, or they whatever the situation was. Somehow I just lost you, Walt, but
No,
I don't know what you did, but I'm going to just keep talking. So
can you? Oh, I see my video turned off. Oh, hold on,
yeah,
hang on.
your video is off, but I'm still going. So I'll let you try to work on that while I tell this story. There you are.
I should be back now. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
You're
I'm
back.
operating two computers at once, and I probably hit the wrong key. That was probably my fault.
Ah,
Anyway,
gotcha.
go ahead with your story.
So anyway, people were encouraged to write down things that they wanted to let go of and put them in this bag marked with burdens. And then likewise, people could write down things that they were hoping for the new year, or things that they wanted to manifest, wanted to see in the new year. We put that into a bag called hopes. And then uh, we did the ceremony where we all stood around in a circle. We all held hands. And she started us off by visualizing the fire and visualizing um, just a peaceful setting, whatever was peacefulness to us, and holding a feeling of love in your heart and connectedness.
Hmm.
So we sat for a little while in just the time of imagining and taking some deep breaths. And then she led us sort of on a guided meditation almost through the release of all the things that we didn't want, the things that we wanted to let go of. She talked about them, and just it was like a guided meditation really as we stood there and watched them burn, and then we went through it again with the hopes, and it was and meanwhile Andrew Prue is our who is our drum leader at the Buttonwood Tree. He leads drumming circles and sound healings. He walked around all of us with a drum, and so you could feel the vibrations from the drum coming
Sure.
and going, um, and then the crackle of the fire and the sounds from the meditation. The guided meditation. It was just really sweet, and
That's
speaking of
nice.
sweet, we had Lyman Orchards, apple cider. We made it hot apple
Oh,
cider with cinnamon, which was
oh,
really good.
that's really
So
tasty stuff.
yeah, so it
Mhm.
was it was a great time. It was a great time. It was really wonderful. And then at the end, we put the ashes right into the river. So it was kind of like our thoughts, our hopes, our prayers, our everything was transmuted right into the river, and
Mhm.
it was really nice. So I'm sorry you couldn't be there. Hopefully next year
Yeah,
you'll be
that would have
there.
been great. Yeah, well, obviously Louise was still in a healing pattern, so we couldn't really do it. But it sounds like you guys had a. Did you have a good turnout too? I mean, it sounds like you had a great event.
It wasn't a huge turnout. It was less than
Oh,
50 people, but
oh, mm-hmm.
it was still great. It was still great.
Well,
We're
well, 50
still.
is actually pretty good considering all the situation you had with your venue, because you'd let the word out that you'd had trouble with the venue. So having 50 people anyway, that's still a very good turnout.
Yeah. Well, we didn't hit that 50 number, but it was on its way there. So it was
Well, that's
good.
good.
It was good. And the
Good.
people that were there were so happy to be there, and we're so grateful that we did it. It
Yeah.
was really nice. And I got to read a letter from Oneida, who does our Saturday morning workshop called Aligned
Great.
with Source.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very powerful. All the things she talked about for 2019, and the energies that were going to be in play for 2019, the unity through partnerships and associations, and water. This is a water year now, so it was really cool that we put the ashes into the water, because water is going to play big this year. So
Why do you say that?
it's part of the numerology of this year. It's part
Oh,
of
I see.
what what we're in store for. Also,
Okay.
nature is going to be big, so try to get out into nature as much as possible and really connect. Give yourself time to connect with nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
So,
we actually do have a question, by the way.
okay, great.
Yeah. We have to talk about, and this is from Soretta, who said this is the first time I've seen her name commenting in the comments section, but she says she's been lurking for quite some time. And after mentioning the lurking, let me just do this here. She mentioned that she's got an issue with her daughter that she wanted to ask about, and she said she has to duck out, but she'll listen to the recorded podcast to hear what we have to say about it. So she says, I'm very good in the area of manifesting, but I have a significant problem right now. My daughter is in a bad situation, and I am worrying, even though my brain knows this isn't the way to do it, so I need some help. She is an adult, for our information, and she just needs some help manifesting the best life for her daughter. So you want to take your first stab at that, or do you want me to do it first?
Well, I speaking from experience, I'm like right there with you. Right there with you. Oh yeah. That's not an easy one.
No.
It's not an easy one because I think worry isn't just a natural part of being a mother or being a human being, that worry comes to us. And the trick is to let go of the worry as soon as you can recognize it and
Absolutely. Yeah.
replace it with um, a faith or assurance that everything's going to be fine and that she's learning her lesson in the time that she needs to learn her lesson. And sometimes it takes a long time to learn lessons. I know myself, my mother had to be a patient for a long time while I learned lessons, and it was decades before I actually like got it. And so it's hard as a parent to sit back and watch your children at whatever age, kind of especially as adult children, because now you know that they have, number one, they're supposed to be getting it already, and they're supposed to have their act together, which a lot of times they don't. And
Hmm.
also, you don't have as much influence over them as you used to.
True.
So, and you have to kind of give them their room and you have to kind of give them their space because they need to be independent and you want to encourage their independence.
And you want them to be independent. I mean, you don't want them to be dependent on you.
Exactly, exactly. You really want to encourage their independence, and yet you you want them to be doing things that you know are best for them. And
Hmm.
so it's a hard thing to do, to let go of that worry and replace it with assurance that everything's going to work out fine. And what I try to do is I try to visualize a particular scene where they're doing what I think that they should be doing for their best,
Hmm.
or I picture my son with happy with a wife and a family and a child and a house and just happy and healthy looking, and and my daughter, I picture her being strong and standing up for what she wants and being a very successful artist. She's an amazing artist, but she's not seeing all the benefits from that yet. So she's got
Hmm.
a lot to learn yet. So I kind of picture them being where I want them to be, and
Right.
it's not easy. So good luck. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with you. I think you're absolutely on the right track. Um, Whenever you're talking about two different people involved in the same situation, you're talking about two people who have independent individual wills. I mean, you mentioned earlier how we are all interconnected, and that is true. And simultaneously, we're all individuals. We are both. We are connected and we are individual. We are all part of the same, and we are unique at the same time, which is
Right, right.
which is quite a concept, but it's true. And because of that, the fact that we have two different people involved, first of all, it means sometimes the wants are not going to be the same. Um, Depending on how close you are to each other, if you're really close to each other, then even if the wants aren't the same, you're probably both respectful of the other and both wanting what the other person wants for them rather than wanting what you want for them. But that's also a good thing to look at sometimes. I mean, if you can look at it honestly and realize, well, what I'm wanting for her is really something she doesn't want for herself, then you got to take another look at the picture and see how can you support her in what it is that she does want, which is again another challenge situation. I mean, sometimes parents think that well, they don't like the wants that their kids have in mind, especially their adult kids. They that's not the thing they should be wanting. They should be wanting this thing over here. And the kid is saying, no, 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 I want this over here. Well, you can't, that's not likely to happen. You should be wanting this thing over here. Oh, no, no, I want this thing over here. And that's hard. It's hard. Um, it's one of the things that's involved here is trust. Because when you're a parent and you're dealing with a child before they become an adult, that child needs to trust you completely. And to the degree that that trust is there, you're able to succeed helping them grow up as a parent. When they become an adult, that, well, actually, in the process of becoming an adult, that trust also becomes two ways because to the degree that the parent is able to trust the child is the degree to which the child is empowered to grow the way they need to grow. I mean, it's a hard thing.
Yeah.
We want them to grow a certain way, but we also have to trust who they are inside to grow in the way that's right for them. And the two don't always dovetail. They don't always follow the same path. So
Yeah.
that's where a lot of the challenge comes in. But I agree with you. The best thing to do is to kind of hold that child, that adult child in your mind, kind of create a space for them of their highest positive good and try to hold it in terms of what they think their highest positive good is, which is not always easy to do, but try to figure out what is their highest positive good, perhaps the one that you feel best about, that you can imagine them in. Because what usually happens when we are feeling a very high level of concern, worry, that sort of thing about a person in our family is we have, as human beings, a tendency to look at all the things that are going wrong, the things that we wish they were doing differently. And we forget in the process what the picture is of what it's like when they're doing things that are to their own best good that we love about them and that they love about them. We forget what that picture looks like. We get
Right.
really good at looking at the other picture, the one that says, well, they really should be doing this and they really should be doing that and I wish they were doing that and why is she doing that and why is she doing that? That's the wrong picture. That's the picture that gets you into that negative vortex in the first place. So that's the big challenge. To what degree can we get them into that mental space where we're just holding them there and saying, I just want the best possible result for my daughter that matches up as well as it can to what she wants in her life. And just focus on that and believe in that and feel good about that.
Right.
That's what I did with Louise. When Louise was going through this big
Wow.
medical situation,
Yeah.
which turned out to be a thyroid issue, a hyperthyroid issue, and had it was a pretty severe one too. I mean, from what we've heard, a lot of people have thyroid issues. We've been learning a lot about that. I didn't know this. Did you know 1/4 of all adults have thyroid issues? 1/4, and a lot of them don't know it.
I didn't.
I was blown away by that. But that's what
Yeah,
the
that's a lot.
last doc. We've seen a lot of doctors. That's what the most recent doctor told us. 1 out of 4. And it's fascinating that there are that many, but there are some people who really kind of suffer. They get the kind of the rough end of the stick, and that's what Louise has been getting. I mean, because she's really been suffering. We told this particular doctor, he was a cardiologist, what it is that she's been going through, and he says, "Wow, you've been dealing with that. That's like it was unusual. Like what
Yeah.
we were going through was really pretty severe for somebody with a thyroid issue."
Yeah.
So there was a lot there to deal with, a lot to
Yeah.
be frightened
Sure.
about, a lot to be scared of. And yet, in the face of all that, both of us, particularly, and I don't remember if I told you the whole story. I know I told everybody on the podcast, but
Yeah.
um,
No.
early on, where we thought that there was a possibility it was Parkinson's disease.
Yeah. No. You told. Yeah. I know that.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
I know. I know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody else does too. I told that story recently. But when we thought it was Parkinson's disease, because we had both watched my father succumb to symptoms related to Parkinson's, I got this huge, huge desire to help her.
Mm-hmm.
Because I definitely did not want to see her go through the same thing my father had gone through. And I knew I had enough presence of mind to realize that I couldn't keep focusing on, no, I don't want her to have Parkinson's disease, because that would be the wrong track. I had
Right.
to
Right.
focus on Louise being healthy, Louise being energetic, Louise being lively and doing all the things that she loves to do and just thriving in life. That's the image that I had to grasp and to hold on to. And it was a challenge because when you're in the midst of something like that, that's not so easy to do. But I did it, and one of the things that made it relatively easy for me was how much I love her. So, I mean, I didn't have to build the passion up very high. That was just kind of right through the roof, right there.
Right.
All I
Right.
had to do was just kind of ride the tiger, so to speak. And the way I rode the tiger was by grabbing a photo of the two of us about what was it, about 15 years ago when we were in Seattle. And this photo, I mean, we're both smiling, we're happy. You can just tell we're just having a great deal of time. So I was
Nice.
visioning her in that photo as the way she was in that photo. That
Yeah,
was the way I
sure.
was trying to get her to be. And it
That's
works.
great.
That
Yeah.
I mean, we know what the result is. The result's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's what I think you have to do with the daughter too. You just have to find that really, really high place. Take advantage of the fact that you love her so much. Use that as the way to build the passion up, and then direct that passion in the positive direction. Whether or not she's going to be receptive to it is another matter. But if your relationship has any good to it, and it probably does, then yeah, it's going to help her. It's going to help her tremendously. So yeah, I mean, we're saying the same thing. I'm kind of saying it in a more long-winded way, but that's what you got to do. Got to hold her in that high-flying place.
Yep. And just trust, and just trust
Yeah,
it'll work out. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but good luck. Yeah.
it's also there is another side to it. You're right; it's not easy, but in a sense, it is easy if you allow that love to take over. That's what I found with Louise, because once I allowed it to just kind of spurt out of me, so to speak. And when that love was just spurting, it actually didn't take a lot of effort. In fact, it really took no effort at all.
Hmm.
The biggest effort was just waiting it out. Just I know it's going to work out good. I know it's going to work out good. Just waiting it out and just seeing what was going to happen. And it played out fairly quickly, actually. As these things go, it played out very, very quickly because the Parkinson's thing
Yeah.
got eliminated within 2 days. And then, what was it, 3.5 weeks later, we had the Christmas Eve miracle. So, it didn't take all that long, which is a good thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Really, all in all, yeah. I mean, once you started on that track of going to the doctor, really, it didn't. Some people suffer for years and years and years not knowing, not having a good diagnosis. So,
And it's funny too because we've been through, oh God, I don't know how many doctors we've been through. I'm so glad about the insurance we have that we just got in time for all this thing because it's covered us tremendously. But I mean, the expense would have been ridiculous otherwise. But having
yeah.
gone through all these doctors, the bottom line is that they believe that this kind of experience she had with the atrial fibrillation, um, they think it's going to keep coming back. It's going to be recurring.
Really?
Yep. Well, they don't actually say it that way, but they hint at it strongly. We have people who have 5 or 6 episodes a year. They say that kind of thing a lot.
Wow.
And as we come out of one of those meetings, Louise and I have both looked at each other and said the same thing. Well, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be her. Maybe those other people, but nope, not going to happen here.
Right. You're done. You're done with
Just
it.
done. That's it. Now it's just keep improving, improving, improving until they can just wean her off the medication entirely, and we're done. No, no big deal. That's the way we feel about it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good. I
that,
hope that's how it happens.
well, that's the advantage when you have that big passion that builds up in the first place like that. Then you're just riding the journey, so that you come up with somebody giving you something that doesn't really fit with what you had in mind. You shrug it off. It doesn't even bother you. You don't even have to work at it. You just shrug it off because it just doesn't fit what you had in mind.
Right.
So you just go with it,
Right.
which is kind of a funny thing. Hey, we
Nice.
got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure I do get the messages in about subscribing and sharing. You'll have links in all of the places where we post this, or most of the places where we post this. You'll have links for subscribing if you're not yet already a subscriber. And if you don't see links, they're on the homepage of our website at loatoday.net. So if you have not yet subscribed, get all the episodes coming right to your smartphone every single time that we publish them. And it's free, doesn't cost you anything. And boy, you're going to get some great episodes because every single one of them is different. And then once you're a subscriber, share the fact. Tell other people that you're sharing the fact. And Nasha taught us a good lesson the other day. Make sure you're a little bit selective about who you share with. Share with people who you think might be receptive to it. Don't share it with somebody. Don't share it with Uncle Milton who thinks all this stuff is a bunch of woo-woo. It's just not a good idea. You're not going to accomplish anything good. You could get yourself in trouble with Facebook. Don't give yourself that problem. Just share where you think there's some receptivity,
Right.
and you know, you can like all you want, you can comment all you want. That's all great. Just be careful where you share it because we don't want to get you in trouble anywhere.
Uh,
Those are the two. Yeah, you got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
yeah. And how can they
Actually,
get your book?
oh, that's true. I haven't advertised the book in a long time. Well, the book's available in Amazon. That's probably the easiest place to go. And just do a Google on, or not a Google, do an Amazon search for Your Daily Dose of Happy. It'll pop right up. It's available both in paperback and in Kindle. And Anne Marie has a story in there, as does her husband Mike. So she is a co-author. That's probably why you thought of it, isn't it? Because you helped write the book.
And I was thinking, and as a distributor too, people can go to the
Oh, that's
Buttonwood
true.
Tree and
Oh,
purchase
yeah,
it
that's right.
there.
Yeah, anybody who's
So,
in Central Connecticut area, absolutely. Go to the
right.
Buttonwood.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
in Central Connecticut, right, anywhere near Middletown, right, you can come there. You can come see our events at buttonwood.org. And if you go to my Facebook page, actually, the Buttonwood Tree, or Anne Marie Kanata McEwen, you can see pictures from the Fire of Hope.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good. What's coming up now? Do you have any particularly interesting events coming up that people should know about that we can tell in the last couple minutes
Well, we
here?
have a really big event in April. On April 5th, we have a big Celtic rock show coming up. That's going to
Ooh,
be a lot of fun.
okay.
But we have the 14th annual Composers and Improvisers Festival, which will be January 19th if you're into improvised jazz. Three big names in that world, Joe Fonda, Kevin Norton, and Taylor Ho Bynum are going to be doing a long night of music at the Buttonwood. And so you can find out more at buttonwood.org, or email me at thebuttonwoodtree@gmail.com.
And you live stream some of these, don't you? I've
I
seen
do.
sometimes you take your phone, you're live streaming some of the events.
We do. So you can always, if you friend us on Facebook or follow us on Facebook, you can tune in sometimes and see. Yeah. So feel free to friend me on Facebook, and let me know you want to uh, connect with the Buttonwood Tree.
Yeah, that's good. Considering most of our listeners are around the world, that means anybody could listen in just by knowing
Yeah.
how to find the live stream. So,
Yeah. No, that's true.
fun.
We have a violinist who plays with Loggins and Messina.
No, no
You're old
kidding.
enough to remember Loggins and Messina.
Absolutely.
These 20-year-olds probably don't, but yeah. So that's going to be a nice show. I believe that's on January 25th. Gary Oliar.
Hmm.
I never heard of his name before, but he came to the Buttonwood Tree as part of another trio earlier, and it's like, wow, you are amazing. Like just some people who have played for 30 years or 20 years maybe, who have been on tour all around the world, and they played with stars and real professionals.
Oh, yeah.
They just have this air about them of such. Number one, it feels so nice. They're
Hmm.
so kind and humble, and I mean, not all of them, but certainly the ones that I've met, these are like common traits among the big ones, is they're kind and they're humble and they're gracious, and they just reek of pure positive energy.
Oh,
And the
nice.
music they produce is just stellar. It's just
Hmm.
so enveloping and makes you just feel so good. Just listening to the music, you just feel
Right.
good.
Yep.
So I'm like,
And Kenny Loggins, it's some of my favorite songs are by Kenny Loggins. So
really?
anybody, oh yeah. Well, one of my favorites is Footloose, which was also the movie from many years ago.
Right,
And
right.
plus, he did both House at Pooh Corner and Return to House at Pooh Corner, which are both really cute, very, very, make you feel good songs, positive songs.
They are.
Yeah, I love
They
both of
are.
them.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to come to the show. You'll enjoy his
Yeah,
music.
that'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
So, well, great. That's good to hear. Anything coming up specifically this week?
This weekend, I can't remember what's coming up this weekend. I don't have a
No,
calendar
that's all
in
right.
front of me.
I was just asking you off the top of your head. If you can't think of it, that's no big deal. I was just
I
gonna.
can't. I know we have an art show on Thursday, on a Sunday coming up.
Okay.
Sunday the 13th, actually a week from today, from 2 to 4 p.m. we have an art show.
Okay.
And oh, I know. On so Friday we have a really nice jazz quartet, and then on actually quintet, 5 people, and then on Saturday we have some of my friends coming back, Indigo Soul. They play like R&B, bluesy music. She's a great singer and really nice, kind of laid back, mellow kind of singer. And so that'll be a trio on Saturday and a quintet on Friday, a jazz quintet. Mostly
Good.
standards, that kind of thing, things you can relate to.
Very good. All right. Well, this has been great. We've used up the hour, but we had a good time talking. We got a nice question from the audience too. So all very worthwhile. Anne Marie, it's been great, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thanks, Walt. Peace, everybody. Love everybody. Thank you, Walt.
Absolutely. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.